Hi, we are software brothers. In this present class, we are trying to figure out the C program to find the power of a number, but with our another method using recursion. So let us start our journey over here. So to start with, we should start our code blocks. You can see the code blocks and create a project. Of course, the next step is create a project console application. This is C. And the project title is say the A. Okay, and inside this main.c we should have include our consideration over here. So after this header file that has been mentioned already, we should consider the float and power, and inside our first bracket we do have our int type of our variables over here, and that is the end of a line. And for that next line we do have, once again, for our positive power we do have this one, and this one is our negative power, which is neg negative power. And inside this bracket we do have once again the int type of variables that is mentioned over here. And inside this main part for our program consideration, we should consider the variable first. So pow and our number. So these two are our variables. These variables are integer type as our power and number, and we do have the floating variable as well, which is our result. Okay, now for that next line we should include the printf line over here. So quite naturally this one should be our integer number, and the next line is automatically the scanf line, and this one should be our %d, and after all this one is our actually referring towards our number. Okay, now once again for that next part we do have our another printf line over here, which is enter its power, because we have considered the number and power as our integer portion over here. So we should have include our another printf line over here, which is enter its power. And once again, to make the input for this power, we should also include the scanf line over here once again, which is our %d, and this one is our power, POW, that has been considered in our short format over here. Now we should have mentioned the condition over here, which is if our power is less than 0, then what is the consideration? The consideration will be result is absolutely our 1 divided by our negative power, which we have mentioned at the start of our program, which is inside our two variables, or at this place of these two integer variables we do have number and our power. Okay, if that is the case, if the power is less than 0, so the result will be this one. If that is not the case, then we should mention the else. What is going to be the result then? The result should be our power, which is our positive power. Inside our bracket we do have number and our power. Okay, now we should do require to print our answer over here, which is, once again we are going to utilize the printf. So %d to the power our %d is our absolutely our %f. So this first %d is actually referring towards our the number itself, and the second %d, this one is our power, which is POW, and the third one is our result, which is actually referring towards our %f. And we have already mentioned that result as our floating point type over there. So that is the end of our line over here. Now we should find out, or we should consider or recall the function to find power. If the base is negative and positive, for both that condition we should mention over here. So in order to do that, we should utilize these lines over here. Now for the first part function, we need to consider the function to find power. If the base is float negative power, so what is going to be that consideration? So let us do recall over here. So first we should consider the negative power over here. So in order to do that, we should consider this line over here once again. So what is that? Once again, the float our negative power, and inside our bracket we do have consider the two variables over here. So first one is our number and the second one is our power as per our analogy. If this floating condition has been considered, then what is going to be the condition? If inside our bracket the power is less than 0, then so this one is our power. Okay, then once again the curly braces, what is going to be the return for that answer? The return will be our, inside our first bracket we do have number multiplied by our negative power, and inside our first bracket number and our power plus 1. Okay, this is our return condition over here. If that is not the case, then ultimately we have considered return 1. Okay, now for the next part we should consider, so up to so here the condition should have started from over here and that is ended over here. So I want to repeat this portion once again. We have first considered the negative power over here, and two variables is been considered over here. Now inside our bracket we have got another consideration. If the power is less than 0, then return value will be this one, which is number multiplied by our negative power and number, and this one is our power plus 1. And if that is not the case, then the answer will be return 1. Now we should consider the power for the base of our positive number over here. For that one we should say this one is our float and our power, inside our bracket once again the same line, which is number, two variables, and this one is our power. Now once again we should consider the, inside our curly braces we should say our, if our power is greater than 0, then what is going to be the return factor? The return will be our number multiplied by our power, and inside our bracket we do have our number and our minus 1, power POW minus 1. If that is not the case, then ultimately we will do return 1 for our answer. So I will do continue with my classes for the next part of our consideration. In our previous part we have already designed our total coding lines over here. So the only thing is we are going to test our consideration over here. So to test it, we should build and run our program, and you can see enter a number over here. Say the number is, say, our 2, and say the power is 3, and what is going to be the answer? The answer is our 8, and you can see we have got the correct answer over here. So clearly you can do understand that in this part we have considered the power, how to calculate the much needed power of a number, and in this condition we have utilized using our recursion over here, and you can see the total picture over here. Now let us do test our with our another coding program over here. You can see enter a number, and say the power is our cube, and what is going to be the answer? The answer will be 27. So this is our total picture for our consideration. Hope you have understood our total analogy over here. If you still have any doubts, please let us know in the comment section for better understanding. Do like, do share our videos, and do subscribe our channel. If you have any doubts regarding our explanation, please let us know in the comment section. That will be much more efficient for us to give you a newer way to think about this coding over here. Stay tuned with our classes to follow our videos. So that's it. Thank you and goodbye.